Hello, puppies and kittens. I'm joined by my wife Lalandra, who has brought some news. We're reporting from Texas, where the religious right Republicans, the conservative Christian nationalists, are always imposing their stupidity on the populace. And in today's news, of course, that would be our governor Greg Abbott, a right wing fundamentalist um, who has made a lot of well, we don't agree with anything that he's decreed so far, and he's just made the news with another idiocy. Honey, would you please explain what's going on in Texas now?
In the United States, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. In the United States, we're just about reaching the peak of the coronavirus, and that doesn't mean necessarily that next week everything will go back to normal. That just means we're at the top of the mountain. Who knows if it's a plateau or whatever. But Texas maybe started a little later on the cycle because our peak isn't predicted until the end of this month. And next week, Governor Abbott is planning on announcing measures to reopen business in Texas. Like, he will announce what he's going to do. And he gave a little peek of it, and he was saying that perhaps we could do more testing, and that would be good. And he said in order to accomplish this testing, he announced some kind of agreement with Walgreens to do drive-thru testing. And he's in his conference, he said that each Walgreens could handle 3,000 capacity a day. Like, not that they would do that every day, but they could. And I was like, wait, I've driven through the Walgreens to get a prescription. Now, how would they handle 3,000 people a day? He might have misspoken though.
And how do you do a drive-through test? Are you supposed to spit into a cup and then send it back through the thing? Because I'm envisioning if you're going to be doing 3,000 people, I'm just try to imagine the line of cars. I don't think you could do that. So what's the line of people going to be like?
Have you ever gotten a flu test? To see if you had the
No,
flu?
I've never gotten a flu test. I don't think I've ever needed a test to see if I had the flu.
Well, what they do is they take a swab that's like, I can't. Well, it's not showing up in the camera, but it's like long.
It's this big.
It's not a little. It's not a little Q-tip. It's pretty long, at least 6 inches. And
you insert that rectally while you're driving, or while you're waiting in the car. Okay.
And they stick it in your nose, and it has to go far back enough in your nasal cavity to where it gets a sample of where the virus likes to hang out, I guess, the back of your throat cavity and the nasal cavity. And that's what they'll do. They'll be like, drive up, get this long swab, and these people that are potentially have COVID-19. I mean, I'd love to be the team that's on staff there, testing 3,000 people, because your odds kind of go up that everybody's going to be, that at least some of them are going to be sick.
So instead, you're going to have 3,000 cars running all down the street in this huge line, and you're going to be like air shooting these little nozzles with this Q-tip here. Shove this up your nose.
No, you can't do it yourself because you got to really get that thing back there. I've gotten one for the flu before, and she went, "Wham."
Hold on, I'll get it for you. Just stick your thumb over one. If you got the flu, you just stick your thumb over one nostril and snork right into that little glass tube. There you go. Sorry about the mess.
Because there's false negatives, like a high percentage of false negatives too. So sometimes if you don't get back there far enough, you're gonna get a false negative, and you actually have COVID-19, and you think you don't, and that's dangerous too.
Yeah, because I've seen news stories about that where some people have been tested and then they find out later that they had it after the. Yeah, so I mean, imagine how bad that is.
Yeah, So like, I don't. And think about it though, like 3,000 a day. If that pharmacy's open 16 hours a day, they I was doing some of the math. Um, I think they would have to get about 100 and I, I don't remember, but it's a lot of people an hour to squeeze all those people in. That's if they steadily come in every hour and break it up. It's ridiculous.
So what you're going to actually end up with at any given Walgreens, even if we were to say that it wasn't intended to be each Walgreens, if it's just like all of the Walgreens collectively across the state, how many are they going to be doing every day? Let's just imagine the lines of people standing next to each other that are going to be, because it's not going to be people driving up and through the drive-thru, for reasons already discussed. They're going to have to go into this place to be tested.
No, it's going to be drive-thru. I've seen some of the video. They're going to set up a tent outside in the parking lot.
That kind of, okay.
Okay, so maybe it's better for them to stay in their car because they're not out and around breathing on each other in a line.
Well, that would be better. I would argue that would be a better plan. So then you've got only one person who I guess is going to be in a hazmat suit picking everyone's nose.
And then you have to change your gloves between every test and sterilize yourself. And like that capacity for one Walgreens is like it's not even possible to test 3,000 people in a day. I mean, how big is that parking lot? The American Airlines Center big?
Okay, so what is the goal for testing all these people? So you were going to reopen the economy, and is everybody going to be wearing hazmat suits like when they go back to the offices to go to work? When you go back to waiting tables, how are you going to be? What are the provisions there?
He hasn't said yet. I've seen Dr. Fauci say, like, Germany's debating giving everybody a pass, like a physical pass. And there's like an antibody test, which is different. So if you've had it and you're immune to it, you get this pass so that you can go out about your business. And
are they actually immune to it? Because wasn't there a story about somebody becoming symptomatic all over again?
Yes.
Okay, so just because you've had it doesn't necessarily mean that you're immune?
I'm not sure, because it could maybe just be a little bit still there but not totally gone, like latent. And then all of a sudden
I'm sure that medical doctors would hear that description and be shaking their heads at that. But we would like to know what the explanation is. I'm curious as to what happens when somebody becomes symptomatic already or after they've already had the disease, because that tells me that they caught it again. It's not like it goes dormant in the body and then just comes out again. And if it does, imagine how horrific that would be. But I'm sure that with this many people affected, we would know if that's the case.
Like if you have a cold sore, you still have that herpes virus. It just goes dormant and then flares up again.
Okay, well, hopefully COVID-19 is not going to be like herpes, where it's just you have this for the rest of you, and this is your new normal, where you just wait and every so often you suddenly have a flare up where you're lethally contagious.
Well, the second time is more lethal than the first, because the treatment, if you're really serious, damages your heart, and so like the second time it's more difficult to survive.
Okay, so are you saying that there's a pattern now? I haven't been watching the news. I've been like doing classwork and being completely bogged down in that. Because I work from home and because we've been just like isolated in our house doing online classes and everything, I've been doing just that. And I haven't been watching any of my regular news sources. I've been, reading stuff for classes. So please.
There have been people, I don't know how prevalent it is, so. Like South Korea said and China said they've had some cases of reinfections.
Well, if they're having multiple cases of reinfections, then that tells us that you're not immune just because you've had it before. And then it's going to be like leukemia, where your next time around is going to be even worse. And Abbott wants to reopen the economy anyway, and he has no provision for people that are going to be waiting tables. for example, your customer service people that have to deal face to face with people every day.
We might do like a slow reintroduction, like just open some businesses and leave schools closed till the next till September. But for me, I would wait until maybe at least a week after there's a trend downwards in the number of new cases. Like,
There goes that thing again. Shut up!
To announce before.
Sorry, the near constant barking has driven me almost mad. So, what was I about to say before that thing went off? And it was important too. I can't remember. Damn. All right, go ahead, hon.
To announce that before there's evidence that there's a clear trend downward is odd.
Well, I don't think that this is going to be exactly like what they predict. I mean, there's going to be some kind of long-term effects that stay with us. Certain habits we're going to adopt from this and keep. And one of the things,
vaccine. If it comes back again, there'll be a vaccine.
Will the vaccine do any good if you can become symptomatic again? Will it do any good if you can be reinfected, which is what you're telling me?
I don't know. It may be just some people.
And if you can get reinfected, I don't mean to be alarmist to this, and I'm not trying at all to add to, anybody's idea of the hysteria of all of it. But if it is a fact that you can be reinfected and your reinfection is more likely lethal than the first time, and it's already something like 4 or 5% lethality, then that's just going to whittle the population down, I would think. And I don't
think that's going to happen because there have been lethal viruses in the past, and now there's how many billions of people on Earth?
Well, the last time 100 years ago, there were 20 million people killed. And what are we at now? We just crossed over 100,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
but you're saying it could last longer and be more deadly, like, I guess, but there's going to be a vaccine. And I don't know that everybody is going to get infected.
Well, again, let's say that there is a vaccine, but you can be reinfected.
No, not if you have the vaccine.
If you've had the disease.
The vaccine isn't a live virus.
But if you've had the live virus and you survive having the live virus and you can be reinfected, that means you're not immune. Which means the vaccine isn't going to do any good.
For people, I don't know. I mean, it might be different for everybody. I don't know why people are showing symptoms again. Maybe they thought they had it beaten and they hadn't beaten it enough. I don't know. So I don't know that people will, in fact, everybody who's had it will get infected. There's no scientific study on that right now.
I also don't like to talk about things when I clearly do not understand, when I know that I don't know what I'm talking about. So let's just hear more about the governor's plan to reopen businesses.
He hasn't, he says he's going to release it next week, the specifics, but he was saying maybe that he would ramp up more testing. The strange thing about it is the lab that's processing the testing is also called Abbott Labs. And I don't know if he owns it or if it's just a coincidence.
Why not? I mean, when Trump had a cure that he was suggesting for COVID, and it turned out that he owned interest in that cure.
I'm not
sure that was a coincidence too.
I think that was just some of his associates' own interest in it. I'm not, I haven't went back to fact check that, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
But tomorrow's Easter, and
is it?
Is today Saturday?
I forget what it's been a couple of years that I completely forget that there's that Easter holiday. And normally we would be at the American Atheist National Convention at this time. Mm-hmm. And we should be in Phoenix right now, getting lit up with a bunch of cool people in the lobby of some fancy schmancy hotel. But I'm sitting here doing homework.
Mm-hmm. But Abbott hasn't closed, hasn't like he made an exception for churches that they can still be open. So
Is there
tomorrow,
anything less essential than a church? I would think that the first thing that needed to be closed is anything that just has, large congregations of people who deny science and who think that they can do faith healing, right? So we had somebody that made a public announcement that if you are in the spirit when you receive communion, then you are immune to COVID-19. And then we have, what is that other, a local guy, what's the guy that's here in Texas, has a $20 million house and a $20 million jet? He's a faith healer. Kenneth Copeland. Yeah. The guy who looks just like the bad guy in The Mask after he put on the mask, that guy. He cured COVID-19 with a spell that he cast on television to then announce that he has utterly destroyed the virus and it can never come back, but that you better show up and to provide your tithe to the church. Even if you don't go to church, you better slide your tithe under the door. Whatever you do, you don't neglect paying your tithe to the church, because the hundreds of millions of dollars that he has is not enough.
He said that this year God told him he needs to make $300 million.
Really?
And he's already worth.
God has some interesting finances, doesn't he? You remember when he told Oral Roberts that he would kill him, that God would kill Oral Roberts if he didn't come up with $9 million to build his city of faith? That was long about 1990, thereabouts, I think. And remember, how threatening is it that God is going to kill you? If you know there's a God, then you think you're going to heaven anyway. You're a priest, right? You are on his side, right? Well, God's going to kill you. God's going to. I guess the only threat there is if God is going to damn you, despite the fact that you believe and beg for forgiveness and all of that. God's going to damn you to get this extortion money that God doesn't need, because God could sneeze a city of faith out of nothing if he wanted to. But for whatever reason, he always needs people to do his work, and he always needs a shit ton of money for them to do that, because the people doing his work always need $20 million jets. I don't understand why that is.
The Bible says that to store your treasure in heaven where the moth can't destroy it.
Yeah.
That means
give me the money now. Give the church the money now. You'll get paid after you die, but give us the money now.
In that context, though, I think it means that there's not supposed to be a mega millionaire pastor. He's supposed to spend the money on the poor, and then he'll have riches in heaven for not being a rich man on earth and spending his money on the poor. Do you think that's happening with Kenneth Copeland? He just bought millions of dollars on Tyler Perry's jet airplane.
Yeah, untold millions, and he won't release how much that cost, because the man has never said the truth about anything. But we know where he got the money to do that. Somebody that was a lottery winner that gave him at least a substantial portion of it, if not the entire amount, was dying of cancer and donated all of her. She won the lottery. Somebody from Louisiana happened to win the lottery while she's dying of cancer, and finds this as a God-ordained fortuitous opportunity. Think about this, that God could have stopped the cancer. God caused her to have the cancer, but God allowed her to win the lottery, which is completely random, just like evolution. But he allowed her to win that because God can control random things, unless it's evolution, because God can't control evolution, but he can control the lottery. And so God allowed her to win the lottery so that she could pay Kenneth Copeland, who's a faith healer, who could use God to cure her, where God could have just cured her without having to get her to win the lottery. But anyway, she gives all of her money to Kenneth Copeland, and he laughs and snorts and buys a jet with it to go hunt African animals that have been moved to a Texas compound, because for some reason, all of these rich evangelical types always need to go out and kill exotic animals. I don't understand what it is. It doesn't have to be exotic, just as long as they kill something. As long as they get something in their rifle sights and kill it, that's what makes them happy. But that's what they did with all of that money, and they let her die. and her family was outraged. And of course, there's nothing that can be done about that. Sorry, we shouldn't have mentioned Kenneth Copeland. We were talking about a completely different asshole. We were talking about our Governor Greg Abbott.
Well, I was getting to that point. Tomorrow's Easter, and Abbott's left the churches open. And some of the churches, at least, are saying stay and pray. So stay at home and pray. So good for them. Or they're having drive-thru churches. And, okay. But at least some of these churches are going to be open and like you said, making claims like if you take the communion in the Spirit of God, you're immune to the virus. Or that's why a lot of churches put their holy water away, because you're immune to the virus, right?
Well, and then you got somebody else who claims that you're a pansy if you wash your hands. That only gay people, right, clean themselves, wash their hands or whatever, and take precautions against the disease. If your faith is real faith, then you would, storm out into huge crowds, knowing that you're invulnerable, like that woman did when they were she was pulling up to the church, and the news reporters asked her, aren't you afraid of getting infected? And she goes, she's washed in the blood of Jesus. So she hangs out in big crowds all the time. She goes to Walmart. She goes everywhere. She goes to all these different places all day, every day, never washes her hands, doesn't wear a mask or anything like that, because she's invulnerable, because she's soaked in the blood of Jesus. They actually believe that causes an immunity to disease. And will they admit when they get sick that it didn't, that they were wrong, that what they believe is wrong? No, they've been conditioned never to question that.
It doesn't matter. But the belief matters.
Well, they made that painfully clear. Yeah. All right. So, is there anything else that you know about in Abbott's plan?
No, we'll find out more next week.
All right. So, we will be back again at another time. I'm going to close it up. Thank you very much, Lalandra, for bringing us some news to talk about, and thank you guys for being on there. And I'm trying to read the posts, all lies, and I've been following a lot, but I haven't seen any questions come up. So thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.